In the bustling heart of New York City, where skyscrapers pierced the sky like ambitious dreams, Alexander Hale stepped out of his sleek black limousine. It had been 5 years since he'd last seen this modest brownstone in Brooklyn, a place that once echoed with laughter and love before it crumbled under the weight of his relentless pursuit of wealth. Now a self-made millionaire, his life was a whirlwind of boardrooms and private jets, but today, something deeper pulled him back, a whisper of regret that had grown louder with each passing success. Alex had built his empire from nothing, starting with a small tech startup that exploded into a global phenomenon. But in the process, he'd lost Sarah, his college sweetheart and wife of 10 years. Their divorce was amicable on paper, but the silence that followed was deafening. She had wanted a family, a simple life. He had chased fortune, convinced it would secure their future. 5 years ago, he'd walked away, leaving her with the house and a settlement that felt like hush money for his failures as a husband. He hadn't reached out since, burying himself in work to forget the emptiness. But a recent health scare, a minor heart episode during a high-stakes meeting, had forced him to reflect. What good was all this money if it couldn't mend the broken parts of his soul? As he climbed the steps, the autumn leaves crunching under his polished shoes, Alex's heart raced. He carried a small, unassuming envelope in his pocket, but it wasn't the grand gesture he'd initially planned. No lavish gifts or apologies scripted by lawyers. Just something real, something from the man he used to be. He knocked softly, half hoping she wouldn't answer. The door creaked open, and there she was, Sarah, her once vibrant eyes now shadowed by fatigue, her hair tied back in a practical ponytail. She wore a faded apron over jeans, and the scent of fresh baked bread wafted from inside, a reminder of the homey rituals she'd always cherished. Alex. Her voice was a mix of surprise and wariness, her arms crossing protectively over her chest. She hadn't aged a day in beauty, but lines of hardship etched her face. What are you doing here? He swallowed hard, the weight of 5 years pressing down. Sarah, I know it's been a long time. I just wanted to see how you're doing. It sounded lame even to him, but it was honest. She hesitated, then stepped aside, gesturing him in without a word. The living room was much the same. Cozy furniture, bookshelves lined with novels and photo albums, but a new addition caught his eye, a wheelchair in the corner, and beside it, a young boy of about 4, playing quietly with toy cars on the rug. The child's legs were braced, and he looked up with wide, curious eyes that mirrored Sarah's. "This is Tommy," Sarah said softly, her voice breaking the silence as she knelt beside the boy. "My son, our son, actually. I found out I was pregnant right after you left. But with everything, I didn't tell you. I couldn't bear to drag you back into something you didn't want." The revelation hit Alex like a thunderbolt. A son. He staggered back, his mind reeling. All those years of building an empire, and he'd missed this, the most profound creation of all. Tommy glanced at him shyly, then returned to his toys, oblivious to the storm brewing in the room. Sarah explained in hushed tones. Tommy had been born with a rare congenital condition affecting his mobility. Surgeries, therapies, endless doctor visits, they'd drained her savings, forcing her to work 2 jobs as a teacher and a baker from home. The settlement from the divorce had helped at first, but medical bills piled up like unforgiving snowdrifts. She'd kept it all to herself, too proud to ask for help, especially from the man who'd chosen. Ambition over family. Alex felt a profound realization wash over him. His wealth, his successes, they were hollow trophies in the face of this quiet struggle. He'd always imagined Sarah thriving without him, perhaps remarried and happy. But here she was, a single mother fighting battles he could have shared. Guilt twisted in his gut, but it wasn't pity that stirred him, it was admiration for her strength, and a burning desire to make amends not with money, but with humanity. They talked for hours that afternoon, the conversation weaving through memories and regrets. Sarah's initial silence thawed into tentative words, then stories, of Tommy's first words, his infectious laugh despite the pain, the way he'd point at birds from his window and dream of flying. Alex listened, truly listened, for perhaps the first time in years. He shared his own vulnerabilities, the loneliness of his penthouse, the friends who were more like business allies, the heart scare that had reminded him of his mortality. As the sun dipped low, casting golden hues through the windows, Tommy tugged at Alex's sleeve. "Mister, wanna see my cars?" The boy's innocence pierced Alex's defenses, and he knelt down, joining the play with a gentleness he hadn't known he possessed. But it was later, as Sarah prepared a simple dinner of pasta and salad, refusing his offer to order in, that the unexpected turn came. Tommy had a seizure, a side effect of his condition, his small body convulsing on the floor. Sarah sprang into action with practiced calm, administering medication and soothing him with whispers. Alex froze at first, helpless, then instinctively held the boy's hand, murmuring encouragements until the episode passed. In that moment, watching Sarah's exhausted relief, Alex saw the depth of her isolation. She hadn't just been silent toward him, she'd been silent in her suffering, bearing it all alone to protect her pride and her child. As Tommy rested in his room, Sarah finally broke down in the kitchen, tears streaming as she admitted the truth. The next surgery, an experimental procedure that could give Tommy a chance to walk, cost hundreds of thousands, far beyond her reach. She'd applied for grants, fundraised quietly, but hope was fading. "I don't want your pity, Alex," she whispered. I don't know how much longer I can keep fighting." This was the emotional climax Alex hadn't anticipated. He reached into his pocket, pulling out the envelope, not a check, as she might have feared, but a folded letter. "Sarah, this isn't about money." "Well, not just that." He unfolded it, revealing a deed to a trust fund he'd set up years ago, originally for hypothetical future children, now redirected entirely to Tommy's care. But the real gesture was what followed. Alex knelt before her, taking her hands. "I've been selfish, chasing things that don't matter. Let me be part of this. Not as an ex-husband throwing cash, but as Tommy's father. Teach me how to help, therapies, appointments, even just reading bedtime stories. I want to earn your trust, not buy it." Sarah's eyes widened, her silence shattering like fragile glass. For the first time in 5 years, she hugged him, sobs racking her body as years of pent-up pain released. It wasn't the money that broke her reserve, it was the vulnerability in his plea, the selfless offer to step into the messiness of real life. In that embrace, Alex felt a transformative impact, not just on her, but on himself. Wealth had given him power, but kindness was reclaiming his humanity. In the weeks that followed, Alex didn't disappear back into his empire. He rearranged his schedule, attending Tommy's therapy sessions in a quiet suburb, learning to navigate the world of braces and specialists. He funded the surgery, yes, but more. Importantly, he showed up, day after day, building bridges where walls once stood. Sarah's home filled with laughter again, tentative at first, then genuine. Tommy took his first unaided steps months later, a miracle born of medicine and love. And in the quiet moments, Alex realized the true power of humanity. It's not in grand fortunes, but in the small, selfless acts that mend broken hearts. For every millionaire chasing dreams, there's a reminder that the greatest wealth is connection. In a world often divided by ambition and loss, one gesture of true compassion can break the silence, inspiring hope that redemption is always possible. As Alex watched Tommy run into Sarah's arms under the Brooklyn sun, he knew he'd finally found his real fortune, a family reclaimed, a life transformed.